promo button, Joe.
All right, hold on one second. I'm going to start.
Right now, you can lock in 30 days of any
and you
NBA
can
or
mic 'em whenever
college
you're ready.
basketball plays, including
Okay.
5% best bets released from your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper for just
It's going to end up on that
$6.63
puck
per
time
day.
spot,
A 30-day
so then bring
NBA
Andrew
pass is
in
priced at
ISO and then
$189
bring
and
the
a
rest of the
30-day
crew in when
college
he's ready.
basketball pass at $189. But you can get both for only $199. To take advantage of this special offer, just go to WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Choose your favorite handicapper and lock in all basketball action for the next 30 days.
Queuing mics.
Even better, there's no limit to how many handicappers
Mics
this
are
offer
on.
can be redeemed on.
Bringing you in, Andrew. You're live.
Hey guys, welcome back to WagerTalk TV. It is puck time. It's time to talk some hockey. Joining me today, Carmine, Bianco, and Bryan, Leonard, both found at WagerTalk.com. Guys, it was good to have hockey back. It felt great to watch it. I'll say just first and foremost, my impressions so far. A little bit of rust for these guys. No preseason. Started off kind of slow, some turnovers, but overall, great to have hockey back. Bryan, I'll throw it to you first. I'll introduce you. Great to have you on the show this year on Puck Time. How are things, man? How was your night last night?
Hey, everything's going great. I had two plays yesterday, split them. I had Montreal loses in overtime. Then I have Vancouver. But when you take a look at the expected goals, it should have been the other way, as the Habs should have had the winner, and Edmonton should have been the winner in the other game when you're looking at expected goals. So that's what hockey is. That's why I love hockey. I love playing underdogs in hockey. I know you guys play a lot of totals, but I'm more of an underdog player. And to me, in hockey and baseball, you're playing on a money line. I do best in that. I just want to pick the winners as opposed to doing anything else. So, yeah, really nice to have the hockey back last night, and looking forward to doing the show today.
We are happy to have you on the show. I'll throw it to you, Carmine, Bianco, my co-host. Cash the big winner, $2 Tuesday NHL opening night ticket. Congratulations, Carmine.
Yeah, weird thing last night. You know what I mean? Like I was like, let me see if I can break my $2 jinx, because I had lost the last couple of them, and I did with that winner on Vancouver and Edmonton going over the total. It didn't do much for some of my other plays throughout the day. It wasn't the greatest of betting days for myself, but I'm glad that a ton of people bought that play and were winners, and we got there. So NHL is great. That our first show was great. Great to have Bryan here, and I would be remiss if we don't mention, because he's probably watching right now, because I was tagged in a zillion tweets last night, that the Prez hit his Tampa Bay -3 plus 390 and Leafs Montreal going to overtime at plus 280. The only bad thing about that game is, as Bryan said, the wrong team won in overtime. I think Montreal was the better team last night, but that's neither here nor there, Andrew.
Definitely, and I'm not going to get into that. We don't have time for it. But what I will get into before we get to our games today is the coupon code NHL99. Use that at checkout with the early bird special and get Bryan, Carmine, myself, our NHL season packages plus the playoffs for $399. Guys, on today's show, we're talking about the Islanders, Rangers, Jets and Flames, Red Wings and Hurricanes, Ducks and Golden Knights, and last but certainly not least, Wild and Kings. Without further ado, let's get into it. Islanders, Rangers, our pick'em play of the day. This one is obviously a huge battle. The two New York teams, two teams that are really, really prime right now, but the Rangers, in my opinion, they're a little bit too fresh. They're a little bit too new. Their roster is still being assembled. They've got some new pieces. They're a little bit younger. We're seeing a pick'em price here, guys, but I prefer, especially early in the season, to go with the more seasoned team, the team that has the most chemistry, the team that has the most leadership and veteran aspects of their team. And, Shesterkin, he's the goaltender for the New York. He's going to be great. He's a Calder favorite, but now the team is his. Might be a little bit of pressure for him. Carmine, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts here on this pick'em play of the day?
Yeah, Andrew, I've got to agree with you. All we can use is the data that was available to us last year, and we can see what the teams did during the offseason. There was no, again, as I mentioned yesterday, no training camp or little training camp, no preseason. And you look at it, yeah, the excitement is there for for the Rangers this year. Alexis Lafreniere in there. You know, listen, he lit up the Quebec Major Junior League. 52 games, 77 assists, 35 goals, a fantastic season. And they've got some guys who can score in that Rangers team. The problem is that defense, even with Schusterkin in net and expected to have a very good season, they're going to literally have to score. It stands to reason you have to score more goals than the other team to win, but they're really going to have to outscore, putting up 4 or 5 goals a game to win, because their defense isn't really that good for that team. You look at the Isles, it's a Barry Trotz team. We know what to expect from Barry Trotz teams. Last year, they started out 16-3-2 out of the gate. A great start to the NHL season. And then just before the pandemic in March, they completely tanked. This team was horrible. And then they come back for the restart and the NHL playoffs, and Trotz gets them back together again. They make a deep run. I kind of like this team. I just like the way they're playing. And it's one of those things where, while I expect them to regress a little bit this year in what is a really tough division, I think early on their defense and their style of play is if they enforce their will on the Rangers, they should win tonight.
There's plenty of talent on this Rangers team. There's no hiding that, with Panarin, Capo Caco, now Lafreniere as well, Zibanejad. The list goes on, Brian. But just the overall skill, the overall strength of this Islanders team, I think will be too much here at a pick-em price. I'm with the Islanders. What about yourself?
Yeah, first off, with you guys having those ice rinks right behind you, every time I watch this show, I get the chills. I feel like I'm in the arena, and as cold as it is before all the other fans get in there, that's what I feel every time I start watching this show. But yeah, the Islanders are a veteran team. Barry Trotz, to me, is one of the best coaches in the league, and it's tough to go against them in the first game. One of the things you look at, and we see it a lot in other sports, where if teams have extra time to prepare, Kansas City, obviously, in the NFL, they do very well. And you've got a terrific coach in Barry Trotz, so I would expect his team to be prepared here. It's also a veteran team, been together, as you pointed out. And you have the Rangers have a lot of young talent, a lot of expectations for the Rangers here. But as you pointed out, people are looking at the Rangers. They're liking the Rangers. The line is moving a little bit in that way. But I have this line basically what it is right now. I'm not seeing much value at all here, and I'm a value player. I'm not going to play it until I get some plus money on one of these teams, and I'm not seeing it right now. So this will be a game that I'll just sit back and watch.
Next segment up for us, the marquee matchup of the day, the Jets and Flames. This is definitely my favorite segment we're doing here on Puck Time on a daily basis. The Jets and the Flames. We know the Jets picked up a brand new goaltender in Markstrom. They had some issues as far as goaltending goes, so that'll be a good change for them. That'll be well needed for them. The Jets will be without Nikolai Ehlers on their top line. And this is a team right now that's had some internal issues in their locker room, with Patrick Laine requesting a trade, having some issues with his agent and the team. For me, I feel like the morale is just not there right now for this Winnipeg Jets team. At this price that we're currently getting, also at a pick-em price, my lean is going to be for the Calgary Flames here. Just an overall down the lineup, more skilled team. They've added some depth. Their defenders are very big in size, and now they have great goaltending. Can't take anything away from the skill that Winnipeg has, Carmine, but I think Calgary is the play here in this one.
Yeah, again, it's a reoccurring theme so far, Andrew, through our first couple of games. I tend to agree with you. Listen, last season was a disappointment for the Flames. 1 year removed from that great run that they had where they won the Western Conference and then disappointed in the playoffs. This season all depends on, if you're looking at whether they're going to battle for that one of the top spots in this Canadian division, is how Gaudreau does. He went from seasons of 84 and 99 points to like 58 last year. Adding of Markstrom is obviously very important there. Listen, if that top line can start scoring again, they're going to give Toronto a run for that top spot. The Jets, I've seen some guys, those TSN broadcasters, which TSN is like the ESPN up here, and Sportsnet. I think one of them, O'Neill, picked Winnipeg to win the division, which I just don't understand. This team is going to live and die by Collar Hellenbruck and net. if he has a fantastic season and stands on his head and stops pucks, they're going to be able to steal some games. I just don't think this team defensively is there, and I just don't think he can have the exact same season he did last year. I think they're going to struggle this year, and we're getting a good price out of the gate on the Flames. I don't mind. I'll take the Flames tonight.
Bryan, Carmine uses the phrase good price. Do you agree with that? Good price here to back this Flames team, or are you on the other side?
Yeah, the money's coming in a little bit on Calgary. It's moved about 5 cents in that regard. But I agree. I don't want anything to do with the Jets right now. An aging team traded away a lot of their veterans on this team. Now they've got to go with a lot of young players. Obviously, the goalie has just been tremendous. And it goes by the goalie. If the goalie's playing well, Hellebuck's playing well, then they're in this game, or they're going to win this game. Problem is you can't count on that all the time, especially when you don't have great players around you. It makes it even tougher for the goalie, which is why it's so impressive last year. Calgary is a team right now that a lot of people think is on the uptick, and I agree. This is a team right now I'm looking to play. I've spoken to somebody else that I really respect in this industry, and he's fading the Jets. And I think you do fade the Jets here. I think it's a team that they're playing for the future, and I would prefer the Calgary Flames here. I think the line's still a little bit short, maybe about a nickel short, so I'm leaning with the road team here.
I want to give a quick shout out to everybody watching live on our YouTube channel right now. And if you're watching archive, we appreciate you as well. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel right here on WagerTalk TV. Hit that bell and get notified every single time we go live on YouTube, and like the video so we know that you enjoyed it. We're enjoying doing this video for you, so let us know that you have liked it. Our next game is going to be the line mover, Detroit Red Wings, the Carolina Hurricanes. Who would have thought we would see any Red Wing games with a total of 6.5? Because I certainly wouldn't have thought that. But their talent has come along. They have some youth. They have some guys that can score. But let's face it, guys, they're still going to be a bottom feeder team. A Carolina Hurricanes team that has some very high hopes. They have some depth. They have some all-star ability. They have a great goaltender. The total goes from 6 to 6.5 now. Bryan, what's the move here? Do you ride with that move, or do you go against the grain?
Yeah, I'm seeing sixes pretty much across the board, unless I've got a still line service right here. But Carolina's my pick to win it all. I think 18-1 you can find out there right now. This is a team that's really deep. The problem you're going to have, we're looking overall at home field advantage, home ice advantage. In the NFL this year, it's been about a half a point. In the NBA, it's about even, so there's no home advantage at all. Now this year, playing without fans, or a very limited amount of fans in many sports, you're going to lose that. And Carolina is one of those teams that plays much better at home with the crowd. Now they're on the road against this Detroit team. Detroit may be slightly better than what a lot of people think, but Detroit and Chicago bringing up the rear there. But it's tough to lay this kind of number right out of the gate when you have teams that had limited practice, that didn't have any preseason games. I'm not a guy who's going to lay that kind of number, although I'd prefer to lay it on the road this year than I would at home. Last night, big home in Tampa Bay. But this one on the road, I lean Carolina, but it's at a point right now for me that I just can't lay this number. It'll be a game I'll be sitting back. I think Carolina wins, obviously, with a 67% chance with this line, or even higher, 70%. But this is a team I like to play in Carolina. As you mentioned, they're much deeper. And I prefer that side, but I can't lay this number.
Carmine, keeping things from a totals perspective with this game, the Detroit and Carolina, well, it's kind of the tale of two different tapes, because we see this Carolina team. We know what they can do when they get up. They can play a very defensive trap style of hockey led by Coach Rod Brind'Amour, and that's kind of what I worry about if I was ever to take an over with the Hurricanes. They're too defensive. They're too comfortable with protecting leads, and I think it's very important for us as NHL handicappers and for all of you watching this video to understand that some teams have no problem running the score up, like Tampa Bay last night, but some teams will protect the lead. That's what I'm kind of worried about here if I was to take an over in this game. And to Bryan's point, the total actually has moved all around. I'm actually seeing a 5.5 as well. There was a 6.5 there. Where are you going here total-wise in this game, Carm?
Yeah, when these numbers came out, we discussed some of these and some of these totals, and I thought that this game could hit 6.5, and I actually wanted it to hit 6.5 so I could take the under. Listen, I understand the line move completely. You have a Detroit team that last year they were porous defensively. They allowed 122 more goals than they scored last year. You had a guy like Jimmy Howard, who his goal expectancy was minus 30. I think it was minus 30 or 31 last year. So, which is more goals than he's obviously supposed to allow, given those chances. And then you have a team like Carolina that was fourth or fifth in shot attempts on goal in the league, which with some high-powered offenses out there, that's a pretty good number. So you can kind of see where we're going here with this. But as Bryan said, while I don't expect Detroit to be world beaters this year, I expect them to be better than they were last year. Picking up Thomas Greiss helps them obviously in goal. He's coming out of a Barry Trotz system where they play extremely well, and at least maybe initially that has an effect on this Detroit team having a better goalie back there and some confidence. And it just 6.5 just seems just way too high a number here. We're used to those, as you said, Andrew, those Carolina numbers that used to be 5.5s. So to jump to 6 and then 6.5, it just seems a little, unless they blow them out. This kind of seems like one of those 3-1, 4-2 games that still gets you there if you're taking the under.
And I don't want to just get on here, Carmine and Bryan, and just rip apart this Detroit team right now, but when you look at their lineup and you dissect it, there's not many all-stars. There's not many guys that are going to give you a highlight reel goal every single night. You've got Anthony Mantha, probably the best goal scorer on the team, Tyler Bertuzzi, Dylan Larkin, and a guy, Philip Zadina, who's a very highly touted prospect, but we haven't really seen too much from him. I'll believe it when I see it from this Detroit Red Wings team is kind of what I'll say as far as that goes, because I'm not going to really back them for an over. Although last night we did see quite a bit of high-scoring hockey on opening night. We'll see if that trend does continue here. Now time for the heavy favorite of the day, the Vegas Golden Knights, where Bryan Leonard is right now. And I believe, Bryan, you're a season ticket holder. They take on the Anaheim Ducks. They are laying minus 210. Now, yesterday we discussed our heavy favorite of the day was the Blackhawks playing underdog against the Tampa Bay Lightning, defending Stanley Cup champs. Of course, that was the one the Preds had the -3 on, and it was a complete blowout. So that goes to prove that sometimes in hockey, riding with that favorite, riding with the public is not a bad thing. You can grab the puck line and grab an alternative line here. In this instance alone, Bryan, are you feeling the same way? Is it a good spot here to ride with the favorite?
This one for myself is a game where I would prefer to not lay the big number with the Knights, strictly from a home ice advantage here. Vegas has had one of the biggest home ice advantages in the league. A lot of it is the fandom here. Obviously, the Knights have just taken over the entire city. We have the Raiders now, but nobody can go to a Raiders game this year. So we'll see how it goes this year. No fans, obviously. I think that's going to have an effect, but more of an effect may be the whole Vegas flu type of thing, where these other teams come to town and they like to go out and party, like to have a lot of fun. Well, we're in a COVID situation right now. I haven't been on the Strip in months, and most of the locals I know Marco goes down there and plays some poker, but most of the locals I know don't even go down on the Strip. It's just everybody coming in from out of town. It's a hotbed to catch COVID. I would assume the players are basically going to stay in the hotel. They're going to stay in their rooms for a good part of the day. So I don't think that's going to be an effect at all this season. I think that's really going to hurt the Knights when it comes to that home ice advantage, especially early in the season before a lot of people get used to the road teams performing better here. The Knights obviously bringing in Pietrangelo is a guy that is a big name, but they did lose a couple of good players in order to get him signed this year. So the short practice time, I can't lay a number like this at home. If you're asking me at this point if there's value, I think the value's on Anaheim.
It's a very good point you bring up, Ryan, about the travel spot and the Vegas issues teams had with going out partying too much, having a little bit too much fun, whether it was the night before or the night after. There were a lot of bet on spots last year to bet against that team. right after they played Vegas and went out and gambled and had a lot of fun, hit the clubs and hit the town. So it's a great angle and a great spot to bring up there. I'll get your thoughts here, Carmine, on this one. We had a great favorite cashed in for us last night with Tampa. How do you feel about this favorite today?
Yeah, you guys have mentioned an angle that I won't be able to use this year, which I absolutely loved using last year, and it made me a ton of money and my clients money, which was fading a team leaving Vegas in their next game. They would usually head to a place like Arizona or something and play a game, and it was that hangover game. They just didn't seem to perform well. And if you have the time and you go through the stats and look through teams leaving Vegas and in their next game, and you're going to see a big percentage of those teams lost next time out. That doesn't exist, like Bryan said, because of this situation we're in. Players aren't out there gambling or having a good time or going to these fancy restaurants for dinner and such. So, but getting back to the game, listen, this Anaheim team to me sort of resembles the Jets in the sense of they don't have an offensive unit that instills fear in my heart or will to any of the good defensive teams like Vegas with Pietrangelo, who completely solidifies that defensive unit there. They're going to need Gibson to have a big year. He had a very good year in 2018, 2019. Not so great in 2019, 2020. As he goes, I think the team will go. He's going to have to steal them some games. And when you take the approach of trying to back a team, hoping that the goalie can steal you a game, you're better off just not taking the game at all. To echo what Bryan said, I don't want to lay 225, even if I think Vegas wins this game 9 out of 10 times, I still don't want to lay that one. Same as yesterday with Tampa, because I think if you lay juice, an extreme juice like this, all you need is to hit a small bad run, and it just kills your bankroll. If anything, if you need to play this game, puck line isn't a bad option here with Golden Knights, because it's over that threshold of plus 110. I always say never take anything lower than plus 110 or negative money on a puck line. So 120 or higher, and this falls into that category. Vegas minus 1.5 plus 120.
To start the show off, Bryan was mentioning how he's an underdog bettor, likes to look for those dogs in the NHL, and I agree. There's a lot of spots to look for that. A lot of spots where you might just say, hey, look, this price isn't what it is. I'm going to back this dog and see what happens here. But in this spot alone, I think opening night for both these teams, it's a spot where you take the favorite, because there might be a bet on spot to take this Ducks team as an underdog during the season with scheduling, with situational scheduling. Vegas coming off a really competitive game against the Blues that went to overtime. Now they're playing the Ducks for a letdown spot, something of that nature, guys. But for me, when I look at this on opening night, we got Pietrangelo making his debut with the Golden Knights. We have the Anaheim Ducks roster that looks like they play in the ECHL. It's not something that I'm looking to be a competitive team whatsoever. So like Carmine said, the goal line, the puck line is plus 110 or better if you shop around. That's where I'm going to look. And as these segments go along, we will find some underdog spots. But for now, on opening night, I do like the Vegas Golden Knights to get it done. Our last segment here, Totals Talk. We're talking Wild and Kings. The total is set at 5.5 here with this one. One of the lowest totals on the board. And Carmine, I'll start with you. The Wild and the Kings. Whoa. Two teams that definitely don't get you out of your seat to light up the score sheet any given night. So I'll get your thoughts here. It's the lowest total on the board. Are you going under or are you going over?
Yeah, quickly before I get into that, I'm just going to mention that we will find some dogs along the way, and definitely this season we'll offer a lot of them. I definitely got to give mad respect out to one of the guys who's on this show and will be on again next week, Don Buster at Sports Memo. Last season, this guy hit a ton of underdogs, so he knows how to find them. Mad respect to that guy. As far as this game, listen, I understand this total. You've got two sides that are likely going to be in the bottom half of the West, and it's not because they're that bad of teams. It's just that the top four in this conference or in this division are very good. Sort of the expectancy number for these teams were low last year. They're going to be low again this year. We'll have to wait and see once we get more data in. but you've got a couple good goalies tonight in Talbot and Quick. Quick's a very good goalie, and he won a lot of games for that Kings team last year. This isn't on my bet card, but if it was on my bet card, it would be under the total here of 5.5.
Bryan, it seems like in the past 5.5 was the norm for totals in the NHL. Now the norm is almost 6 and sometimes 6.5 with how the speed has developed in this game. What do you think here? Lowest total on the board, 5.5. You going under or over the total?
A lot of people will look at yesterday's game since it's the new season, slight rule adjustments, and see that the games were real high scoring. So the first thing they want to do is get ahead of the market and bet the overs in these games. And I don't think we've got, obviously, a sample size that we could be doing that right now. I like the goaltending on the backup and the starter for the Kings. I think the Kings' goaltending should be much better this year than it was in the past. Big bounce back out of Quick. The Wild's one of those teams, as was mentioned, offensively, they don't impress me. I think this game goes under. It's been bet, at least from what I'm seeing over here at the WagerTalk Live lines page, it's been bet up slightly, but it's still more of a 5.5 under. And I prefer the under in this game. I'm not a totals guy as much as you guys are, because I think so much of it has to do with the game flow and who gets off to a big lead, and all of a sudden somebody's got, you're playing an under and somebody's got a 3-0 lead, and all of a sudden the other team's going crazy trying to score that extra goal. So I'm not a totals guy, but if I was, I'd look at this game to go under the total.
When I see both these teams, I see physicality. And to me, unless you see a penalty and a lot of different fights and that stuff, physicality to me means unders, because it means the defensemen are keeping the forwards out of the net. They're keeping the forwards to the outside, to the point, and they're creating a lot of shots that aren't really going to be too dangerous. So I'm right there with these two guys. I like this under as well. We have a few seconds, guys, before we get to our best bet segment. So I want to throw it back to you, Carmine. Bryan touched on something that kind of is important to me. Finding trends. And I'm not a trend chaser by any means, but it's opening night. We were all very excited to watch hockey. I know I certainly was. And right away, what I noticed was a little bit of sloppiness. They didn't have preseason. They had a shortened camp. I'm watching that Montreal and Toronto game. Of course, there were many goals, but I'll tell you, Carmine, it looked like some of those guys were out of breath. They were struggling to get up the ice when they had a long shift and they iced the puck. That certainly makes a difference here early in the season.
Yeah, it really does. And, we discussed this. I think we talked about it during one of the games. I watched, I think 4 games last night. And from that Pittsburgh one on, it just actually felt like an exhibition game, a preseason game being played during the regular season with the Stars. A lot of sloppiness. And yeah, we saw with players tired. I think in the Leaf game, Leafs Montreal game, I think Austin Matthews, I think he played like 26 minutes, which is insane for an opening game. But you looked in overtime, 3-on-3, and it wasn't that normal action we see 3-on-3. They look gassed on both sides. So this is probably where some of that scoring comes into it, and why we saw some higher scoring games. But by all means, don't think that what happens on opening night or the first couple of nights is going to be emulated throughout the first couple of weeks. I think team fitness will come into play, and we'll start to sort of gravitate back to what we saw during the regular season last year. So there's going to be some good spots with the totals, and there's going to be some good spots with the dogs. You just need to find them as the data comes in.
Bryan, it's a pleasure to have you here on this show on Puck Time. We look forward to having you many, many more times. We're going to move on to our best bet segment, a best bet to give out to our viewers and our loyal WagerTalk followers. And also, let us know what you have up at WagerTalk.com. It can be your NHL and NFL or whatever you may have for customers.
Yeah, right now I've got a 5% play in the NFL. A lot of success over the years in 5%, so I don't put a lot of them out there, especially in the NFL. This may be my first NFL, maybe my second NFL of the season. 5% play goes on Saturday. Also have a puck line play up on tonight's card. My first puck line play of the season. I'm going to go with Anaheim in the first period here in this game. I talked about the lack of the home advantage for the Golden Knights. If you've watched the Knights over the years, they have a tendency to come out slow. And as the game goes on, and this is just it's a situation where you're looking at football, basketball, whatever it is. The longer the game goes on, the better chance the better team is going to win that game. So we're knocking this down. We're cutting the game into a third, and we're getting Anaheim here. And I think plus 160 in the first period on Anaheim, I think is a nice underdog bet here, and that's what I'm going with as my best bet in this show today.
Bryan, Leonard giving us a great underdog price there for his best bet. Carmine, we'll go to you. Let us know what you have up at WagerTalk, and let us know your best bet for today.
Yeah, as far as we'll work backwards, NFL, a couple cards up, including a 5% play. Extremely hot in NFL. Finished off the regular season and into the playoffs so far, 19-5. So I'm pretty happy about that. 4-pack of NHL plays tonight. There was a lot of games. I had to cut them down. 4 is about the highest I ever want to go on any package, but there's 4 plays up at WagerTalk that you can get. As far as my free play, I'm going back to that marquee matchup with the Jets and Flames. I'm gonna go with the Flames here because I think, and tonight will tell me if it's true. I think they're going to be a bet on team initially. I think they're going to have a good start to the season. Tonight will show us whether they do or not. If they lose, then I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with the Flames, and if they win this one, I'll probably be piggy banking them for the next few games. Let's see what good old Johnny Gaudreau can do for me tonight. Flames minus 115.
Carmine, Bianco going with the Calgary Flames as his best bet. For myself, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Sabres and the Washington Capitals over 6. The talent on both teams is just unbelievable. The goal scoring capability is crazy. And Taylor Hall and Jack Eichel being on the same team is just going to be a pleasure to watch as far as the Buffalo Sabres go. But I don't really buy into their defense, and I don't really buy into their goaltending. And I know Carmine probably doesn't like me saying that as a Sabres fan. So my best bet's going to be the over in the Capitals and Sabres game. And as far as plays for me, I have my full report for tonight's NHL action up, and I'm on an 8-0 UFC run, and I'm releasing a 4% play tonight in the UFC. Guys, thank you so much for watching Puck Time here, our second episode. We are proud to deliver some great winning NHL information. Thank you to Bryan. Thank you to Carm. Thank you to our producers, and we'll see you tomorrow right here, 11 a.m. Eastern on WagerTalk TV.